to see how that plays out, especially as our runners have to deal with things such as unrunnable encounters or instant death spells.
And it looks like we're off with an immediate check into the magic shops in Caneria. What do we got today?
Ooh, we've got level 1 fast, which is going to be nice later on, but the best offensive bit of magic I'm seeing for our runners is Quake.
Yeah, so they'll have to go maybe Quake the Pirates, Quake Garland. Pretty good odds this early in the game, but certainly not a guarantee.
Yeah, it looks like for our runners who brought a white mage, they get healed too. All of our runners have red mage learnable and Viz 2 as well. So this magic is going to be really, really nice once things start snowballing a little bit. But for now, hopefully that Quake serves our runners well.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of late game utility and good pocket magic, but it doesn't power the seed in the early game, so hopefully something helps us out over in Provoca with... Oh, actually, if Provoca is not there, then it's going to be maybe not level 2 magic for quite some time.
Oof, Thunderclad loses that fighter to a squint off of either the Wolves or the Grahams. I couldn't tell which.
But Thunder presses on with just the 2 mages alive, can still turn right around and go Quake Garland, so isn't out of it yet.
Can't run from these spiders, though, and that's 36 damage right onto that white mage. Ooh, and swings back for 17 for Exaxes.
And that's the last charge of Quake, so Thunder might have to improvise here.
Loose TNT, though. That's good information, even if... And a mage staff. I mean, you got it.
And Sonirath just picked up the items from the King and Sarah. We've got a rod and an oxyal.
Okay. Hopefully for Sonny, that loose TNT isn't super punishing. He might go back and check it, but he'll probably hold off until he gets the Mystic Key.
Exactly, and another feature that should be obvious on some of the runners' screens now is that this flagship also has free ship. Free ship helps with the motion around the inner sea in the early game, as well as affects how the runners may progress once that loose canal has been found.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with that Quake is our spell, because if you're running around on the water, there's no earth to Quake there.
That's right, all of those enemies are resistant.
Looks like Thunder is going to be our first runner through with all 3 of the key items we know about.
We've just got a preview here of the towns available with Onrak shuffled into the Provoker location and an Oxale also already being given to the runners. We've got a place where Quake is not good that they may need to go to try kill things or find a loose piece of progression.
Oh no, oh no. Chat just pointed out that we saw Onrak. We have Oxyale.
Yes, that was what I was getting at just a moment ago. We have not yet seen Elfland's town, though, so there could still be something early there, maybe Provoca or Elfland itself.
Yeah, and there's always things like Marsh Cave, that TNT might turn into something, etc., etc.
Alright, Thunderclad makes his way to discover that there's an Onrak here for the first time, while Kuketsky picks up the big treasure trove in the upper left on Temple of Fiends, and Sonirath right on his heels. So we've got, interestingly, a couple of deferred Garland fights / a couple of deferred explorations of the temple, given kind of where we started with the free ship. You know, sometimes it makes sense to go out and scope out the other towns first. Ooh, and we do see actual Elfland. So we're getting level 3 magic has Quad X, good for single targets, but actually not yet a mass AoE spell. We also have seen a extremely expensive chime in the item shop in Elfland. Fortunately, that probably is not a forced piece of early progression, because it will take at least the canal and then, you know, the odds of something rolling into the bottom of Mirage Tower for it to be required. But as soon as that canal is found, then it's on the table too.
Ooh, what did we find?
A $43,000 chime in the vanilla Elfland, shuffled into Elfland item shop.
And it looks like Thunderclawed is giving us a look over at what the dwarfs have.
Yeah, this flag set starts you off with basically 18 immediately accessible chests. That would be, of course, before that Oxyale and Onrak appeared for them. And given that canal is usually going to be in one of those things, you'll see people rush to check things like Matoya, dwarves. Speaking of Matoya and the canal, there it is in the top chest. So now the world is the runner's oyster, or at least half oyster, because we don't have the canoe yet, and the canoe is what opens up the remainder of the non-floater locked locations that can be sailed to. But sailing ahoy, we can get to the Melman continent, and we can get to the Mirage Tower. We're getting some knowledge about ancient languages from the dwarves. I don't think they're the ones that are supposed to speak that language, but nonetheless, they're telling us about it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they found this weird hunk of rock, and they needed the TNT to precision excavate it out so you can take it off to, you know, a random expert. Honestly, I feel like it would have been much easier to bring the expert back down, but who am I to judge?
A perfectly flavorful explanation. So, for level 4 magic, I have not taken a peek into the shops yet to see where our offensive futures lie, but black mages and white mages do get charges for that by level 8, so it shouldn't be too far out if there's AoE available there for us to start sweeping things away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the Elfland magic, I imagine our runners, once they find that canal, are going to probably check out Melmond, just on the off chance that it's Provoca, and you stay pretty close. You can get some relatively good early levels and money off of the near Elfland encounters. And, you know, Quad X is nothing to sneeze at level 3.
Sure. And speaking of good money encounters and so forth, the vanilla game features a lot of fights against Kaizokus, the sea pirates, and we've actually had a couple of runners already grinding on those.
Yeah. Unfortunately, or for our runners, getting the incremental experience gain isn't really on the table. Our key item experience progression is 150% at 12 key items, so it's going to be a little bit before we start seeing the benefits of finding all these items.
Yeah, and we got Thunder already in the Sea Shrine, so here we go. Buckle up. It makes some sense. Never mind, reset out of that unrunnable, always unrunnable, in fact, Sehag encounter, because the Sehag encounter is paired with, is it Kraken?
Pirates.
Pirates, gotcha.
Yeah, so I honestly don't hate the sea dive if you have a run of encounters that you can take to mermaids, just on the off chance that there's something loose here.
Oh yeah, totally. I think it's worth the risk, and Mage Staff can kill, say if you run into a pack of low-rolled ghosts, Mage Staff could get you through that.
Yeah, it looks like Bert's found Crescent Lake. So that's going to be another nice key item pickup from the Sages. Level 6 Bracken Temper, though.
Okay, alright. Well, those are spells that you don't need a ton of. That's about as high as I'd be okay seeing with them and still, want to invest.
I mean, I personally would, if I was trying to be nice to our runners, have flipped the locations of Fast and Temper, because stacking Temper charges always is fun.
Truth.
But that's not the worst place for Brack.
Yep. But at least we get some Red Mage access in there, right? The Red Mage, if promoted, will be able to learn that Brack slot.
Yeah, looks like our Mermaid Dive wasn't super valuable. Thunder did dig up a gold bracelet, but I think that was the gold bracelet and a heal hat, but that looks to be the best of it.
Yep. Sonny's clearing out Marsh Bottom for us, so we'll get to see. This is not an incentive location. Incentives today are Ice Ordeals and Titan's Trove, but Marsh nonetheless is highly likely to have something good given its status in these flags.
Indeed. Though I wonder how much of that, in this particular seed, is negated by the fact that Canal is loose up in Matoya.
Oh, a lot of it, but I don't know if Sonny knows that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the way that our item tracker is set up, I can't look at a glance at who all has found the canal. Let me check some of the detailed notes.
Cool, we've got a check coming up on the Vanilla Crescent location, and it's Lefane. So we've only seen one half of the Melmond plus Lefane pair that would turn that slab into something. It could be that Melmond is hiding out at the Vanilla Onrak location, which is visitable with the ship, and open progression, which places a dock.
Indeed. Yeah, and at the moment, it looks like we only have the one runner who's decided to dive Matoya, which makes sense. A lot of the time, you have runners not wanting to go to Matoya until you have the crystal.
Exactly. And to get some of those elusive early levels, we actually saw a pretty good strat from Kiketsky to go to the Peninsula of Power, which is a great vanilla grind spot, and if all you have is Quake and a Mage Staff and a Sea Shrine in front of you, it's also good in Rando. Fast strats coming out from Thundercloud. So Thunder also checked a few more of the right side C floor 2 chests on the way out, but did leave behind the uppermost That Fun Chest North, as it's known. So that will be a hanging unknown for a while, as well as whatever's in the key locked chest that could not be checked.
Yeah.
So March did not yield anything fruitful, thanks to our tracker Asher for pointing that out to us. But the key lock locations could end up being something as well. Not incentivized, but it's always nice to see a loose item troll their runners and bring them all the way back down there.
Yeah, I wonder how many of our runners are going to get tripped up by Sea Shrine, because it's entirely possible that a lot of our runners spend a lot of time trying to do the sea dive and just never make it over to Matoya.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but we haven't seen the left side of C yet. So, given that there are these unrunnables, it's not a great idea, but diving left side also to possibly find loose progression, canoe or floater, that would be a huge payoff for the risk.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it's still also entirely possible that Sea Shrine doesn't have anything useful. It's a mystery, so I'm just hoping for the sake of our runners who are diving Sea Shrine that it pays off for them in the end.
Exactly. Beyond that, it's also worth pointing out, and you as developer can speak even more closely to this, the way the items are placed in this randomizer is not in a logical progression. It's simply they are placed, and then the code does a check to make sure that the seed is completable. So getting the Oxtail might, tingle your spidey senses, but it's not actually predictive of anything having landed in the Sea Shrine.
Well, it is and it isn't. There are some items that are placed kind of in an expanding order in a recent update. I think it's the ship, the canoe, possibly the canal, and definitely the floater. That way, they're always placed in places where they can be used as progression to unlock new things.
Oh, interesting.
But for the most part, there is that sort of balance between, oh, I have this thing that lets me check things. If there's a lot of chests there, for most of the thing...
Ooh, did you see Sony just get zapped?
By what?
Something in the, what looked like the Grimp and Werewolf pack. Sony's got color shuffle on, so and also renamed enemies, so it's not super intuitive to tell what enemies Sony's running into.
Yeah, it looks like our trackers are saying it was the werewolves with zap.
So beware.
Yeah, but getting back to the there is a game because on the one hand, items could be put anywhere. On the other hand, Sea Shrine is one of the more chest-dense locations. So the odds of it having something are not the worst, based on the sheer probabilities alone.
And on an update about what's happening on our map, we've had a sailing trip all the way up to the on-rack location. Gaia is there, but we have no bottle yet. And Gaia, of course, only having level 7 magic doesn't really alleviate some of our early woes.
Yeah.
So what I'm really waiting for is that $43,000 chime and a dive into the distant, kind of hard to sail to Mirage Tower to be required.
Right? And we have a cube.
Oh, I saw the chime. The cube is Sages, yes, right, because Preston offered a key item.
And so, at this point, we have early logical access to both sea and sky.
And if you want to get really cheeky, you could do some kind of solo Black Mage grind to get the Black Mage up to level 16 so you have a charge of break, and then you can roll the dice on Kraken or Tiamat.
I mean, it's about 1 in 4. I forget the exact percentage.
Yeah, definitely it's a good strategy, especially when you have multiples of them and you're prepared to take a few hits in between, but it might be risky this time.
Yeah.
Also, Warmech is vanilla, so you don't want to run into the big, scary robot.
Yeah, so we have raw blood. We have... so we can, at this point, actually light all 4 orbs.
There's a shiny Pokemon on Burt Reynolds' screen.
We love the Tyro here.
Yeah, good point about lighting 4 orbs. That's something that does not often become possible prior to both the canoe and the floater.
Wait,
if
sorry.
Canoe, I would have been surprised.
No, we can light 3 out of 4 orbs. Volcano is locked behind either of those.
Ah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. No, I got you excited.
Yeah, having the 2 more traditionally deep fiends be beatable this early kind of took me off guard as well.
Yeah, but we can't forget that Earth is also in play with the rod we have.
That's right.
Maybe? I'm usually loud compared to everyone else in real life, so...
Yeah, so as Asher1611, again, both flag designer and one of our two trackers today, points out in chat, this flag set does encourage and statistically is likely to open up a lot of routing possibilities, not on all scenes, but a lot of routing possibilities that make your decisions just matter so much more.
Yeah, because, like, let's say you're one of the runners. You have a ship, you have access to 3 out of the 4 Fiend dungeons, and you don't have any level 2 magic. What do you do?
Try to avoid cremate zombies, like what just took out half of Sony Rat's party?
I mean... that seems like a smart play.
Yeah, but to answer your question, chest density and what can I kill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's that second question that's going to be the big limiting factor here, because sure we've got Quake, sure we've got a Mage Staff, but that's about it.
And that Quadex. So what can you do? If you go to, say, Mirage Tower, let alone Sky, but let's just talk Mirage Tower, you've got some potentially Quadexable enemies and Chimeras, the Catman Saber fight. You've got some Fireball, or some Fire weak enemies in the Vampire pack. And there must be something in there that's weak to Quake, certainly the Catman.
Mm-hmm. So, what you would go for is try to get the money needed to get into the Sky.
Yeah, and to do that, in this flag set, we actually have a very low flat gold bonus. So the flat gold, I believe, is only plus 80 per enemy. Let me just triple check.
Yeah, it's 2.7 plus 80.
Yeah, so it's hard to grind out cash, straight up. You have to basically go treasure hunt and then, say, give up an opal armor and just hope that it's not a relevant armor for you later. I was recently playing a run in the same flag set, and what I didn't notice early on was that I had this gold bracelet sitting in my inventory. Gold bracelets are great. I like to keep them all game usually, but it would sell for tens of thousands of gold, and I needed to buy an Oxyel to get into a shuffled sea shrine, so that was the play.
Yeah. Looks like a lot of our runners are just trying to make some progress, but bouncing off things like these heal 3 bones.
Yeah, that is quite... Like, if you're trying to clear a pack out by doing partial damage through something like a Fire 2 that doesn't always roll high enough, it's going to be hard to pierce through a pack that maybe has heal 3.
Yeah. Though, it is worth noting that once our runners start getting to level 4 magic, you do have Lit 3.
Yeah. So you just gotta find anything to kill to get to level 8.
Yeah, which will cover a lot of sins in Sea Shrine.
Yes. Everyone took a Black Mage. Again, we got 3 Fighter Rainbows and a Fighter Thief Red-Black on screen. So we just kind of need to hit that breakpoint, and then, like you were saying earlier, things start snowballing. Chat points out Sonny's probably taken the most wipes, or had the most difficulty progressing so far.
Yeah, it seems like getting up to the top side of Marsh is being a little brutal, but at the very least, he's getting that information.
Yep. And it looks like Kuketsky might be going with deliberate 3 character strats at this point. Is in a town with a Resurrector, did not go to lift up the thief, just saved at the end. So 3 people in the Sea Shrine, great for experience, but if you gotta run, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fairly common strategy, especially at this point, because the thief doesn't wear armor until it promotes. So there is a fair bit of, well, the thief is just going to die in one hit anyway, why bother bringing it up? On the other hand, you know, that's one hit your fighter didn't take.
So, another possibility, as I see Sonny continue to waltz around with just the 2 bottom mages alive, is maybe like, hey, I actually just need to funnel experience onto the mages because a breaking point for the seed is those mages getting to level 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also a fair bit of, I don't want to run back. And I know that I have been guilty of pushing back that way. And, well, taking the wrong choice between going back, bringing my party back up for the next dive, going back, saying, heck it, I'm gambling on things, and just stubbornly beating my head against a dungeon.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Randomizer, one of the qualities of a personality that it doesn't play well with is with someone who's stubborn, because honestly, this game, you need to try different things or you just start losing time repeatedly.
Yeah, which can get a little annoying, because sometimes I'll definitely run into situations where it's like, if I had just gotten slightly better turn order, I would have been fine. And those are always the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when those turn orders are like 1 in 8 plays, then I think you need to stop complaining and find an alternative.
Yeah.
So back to this seed and its ongoings. Veteran runner Crabcakes in chat points out that we haven't seen an Earth Cave dive until, as I say that, Burt Reynolds is walking in.
Burt is... Look, Burt, you need to get out of the... I'm just kidding, of course.
So an interesting feature of this flag set, which is common but not super standard across Final Fantasy Randomizer race flag sets, is the B-side encounter tiles. So in addition to shuffling what's on encounter tiles in the game, the B-side encounters are not from the vanilla set of formations. They are in the code, just not normally seen. And here at the Earth Trap tile, we've actually got the Sarias.
Ooh. Well, we see some of the B-side encounters in vanilla. Some of them we don't. For instance, the Wiz Sahag, Red Sahag encounter is the B-side to the Pirates.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but there are a few B-side encounters we don't see. I think, like, the multiple Iron Golems is one of them. The multi-eye tile, for sure, which is, I know, every runner's favorite.
Oh, yes. Especially for a black belt fan like myself. So, of note, this Soria tile that Burt Reynolds has stumbled onto is a pretty solid way to gain experience. Sorias don't have a ton of hit points in vanilla, but give pretty good EXP per minute. Now, our key item count is not quite at the threshold of getting that one-time bump, so we don't maybe want to go all in on a long-term grind right now, but this seems like a great way to catch up and have those adventure levels that make the seed that much more palatable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Sani is heading up towards Matoya, which is very important because that's where the canal lies and should alleviate a lot of Sani's struggles with just what the options available were.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame our runners for not just going to Matoya right away. Yes, it is 3 chests, but compared to, say, Marsh Cave, which is, I want to say, close to a dozen?
Marsh Cave, total number of chests, is that?
Yeah.
It's 4 in the top and 6 unlocked in the bottom, 3 locked in the bottom.
Okay. I'm gonna call that approximately a dozen and call it a win.
Alright.
So I can totally understand the desire to go down into Marsh Cave rather than trying to take the double dip into Matoya.
Yeah, when you're looking for just like going into the seed, I want to route efficiently, and then I'll change my plans accordingly. You plan not to double dip sometimes in certain runners' mindsets.
Yeah, with a flag set like this, I think we're seeing a lot of runners getting rewarded for grabbing free chests early. Maybe not necessarily with super amazing results, but the runners who made it down to Mermaids got a gold bracelet, which is definitely helpful in keeping various characters alive.
Yeah, especially those like 2 white mages.
Yeah.
And of note, Thunder is now on the Earth continent, and Burt Reynolds was in Earth, but only did a grind, then tailed it back to the Melman location to heal up and things. So we haven't actually seen much Earth exploration yet, even though we've known about it now for about 5-10 minutes.
That said, when you see the Saria tile with this spell loadout, that's taking. I would take that grind every day of the week.
Oh, same.
Yeah, and honestly, Ogre's Seed.
Oh, watch! We saw 2 dangerous and scary things just next to each other at the same time. You pointed out the gray ogres have, or green ogres have Blizzard. On the left side, I was noticing that the cobras have Cremate.
Jeez, Earth Cave has the rudeness tonight.
Yeah, and cobras, I want to say you're going to see them on the first floor, and maybe that's it, though, whereas green ogres go much deeper into the dungeon.
Let me check.
Also, I don't know how many total cremates are in the pool. We did see cremate from werewolves earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Werewolves, by the way, coincidentally, also in Earth Cave.
Yeah, it looks like cobras are only on that top floor, which is lucky.
So Earth Cave could be shaping up to be a bit of a gauntlet if, say, a ribbon doesn't reveal itself soon, or maybe an ice shield or flame shield to put on one of those fighters.
Yeah, but on the other hand, green ogres are all over the place. They're on the first 3 floors of Earth Cave. They're on every single floor of the volcano.
They're on the Earth continent. They are on... They are near Marsh Cave.
They're in Titans.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that too. That Nuke Bones. Well, Nuke Bones.
Oh, great. Thanks, game.
Yeah. So Bones are confined to a couple of the low-level early spots, if I recall. You see them in Marsh and you see them in Temple of Fiends, but then later it's only the red versions in, say, Ice Cave, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we will be able to get away from Nuke pretty soon, and it does not seem like that encounter is stopping anyone from major progression.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah, the Bones, I think, open with heal 3 and then follow with Nuke to answer app in chat.
Yeah, which that's a fun script to go up against.
Now, see, can I get that script? Can I like put that script on my team so I can use that in Topher? Because I mean, Heal 3 and Nuke are both pretty great there.
Okay, so Sonny found that katana, which sells really dang well in the top side of March as Puketsuki picks it up. Though it's going to be interesting. He's the one with the thief. Does he hold on to the katana or does he sell it?
Honestly, in this flag set, you don't need the second melee too desperately, so it's a perfectly fine thing to sell. There are 2 katanas in existence, but also, if you're talking about a promoted ninja, there's a variety of other elite gear or high-level gear that ninja can substitute. Of note, as I saw on Thunder's screen and Crabcakes pointed out in chat, we've got a ribbon on Earth 2 that was picked up in the guarded room at the bottom.
Nice. Yeah, Better Trap Treasure is not on tonight, so treasure chests behind Force Encounter tiles are just as good or bad as any other gosh dang chest in this game.
Yes, there are. Yeah, that's an interesting flag. Not one we're playing with tonight. It certainly changes your chest routing, especially if you're planning not to full clear locations. Though, if you were to pair it with, say, 3 loose items, you're probably checking everything anyways.
Yeah. I just wanted to double check whether or not it was on because that ribbon, I think one of the chests in that room is included in that pool.
That's correct, and I think it's the one that the ribbon just came out of.
What a coincidence! Yes.
So, the last flag that I haven't talked at length about in this flag set that's going to come up into relevance possibly soon is that we have open progression on, but not extended open progression. So there's no dock in front of the desert, which means if we find floater, great, because we still need to find canoe.
So, Cheesenator, how do you feel about using your mage staff on undead?
Oh, I love it. Oh, but wait a minute.
What if those specters know Aether?
Turn order, lol. But also they're falling into cracks.
Yes.
A distinction between the 2 of the major categories of undead enemies in the game is that undead enemies that are more ethereal are immune to Quake, whereas undead enemies that are somehow earthbound or walk around with legs, with the exception of the zombie, are Quakeable.
Yeah. Have you tried to catch a ghost in an earthquake? Really, chat? Have you?
I mean, I'm trying to catch ghosts all the time. I have a secret second life as a Ghostbuster.
That checks out.
Alright, so we've got a now pretty deep run through the Earth Cave happening on Thunder's screen, so we're learning a lot more and trying to ribbon our way past some of these spooky encounters. As you stressed earlier, this is rod in hand, full clearable. And behind the rod in particular are 8 more chests on the 4th floor.
Yeah. Looks like Burt Reynolds decided to peace out of Earth Cave while Thundersquad continues ever deeper.
Yeah, someone, Crabcakes in chat, postulating, not a real word, but one that I love, that a chime play might still be on the table, and is totally a sensible gamble given, again, the chest density up there and the general killability of enemies on up through Mirage and Sky.
Yeah. Looks like Bert also has some pretty good levels on that party. Look, that fighter there with over 400 HP already.
Of course, there's the most disrespectable fiend at the bottom of this dungeon. So Lich certainly fine to walk through, even at early levels. All you need to do is dump out about 400 damage, depending on the roll, and you can do that with a variety of things because of all the weaknesses that Lich has and the low MDef.
Yeah. So for those of you keeping score at home, one hot second. Yeah, Lich has MDef, which means, if I do my math correctly, yeah, that's about a 1 in 4 chance to fall down a crack into the earth.
Nice.
Because Lich, despite being the fiend of the earth, does not actually resist earth up.
Yeah, so if this cave were just to somehow coincidentally collapse in on itself, Lich is probably a goner.
And to paraphrase chat, do you even float, Lich?
There's that, by the way, that zap from the werewolf, not the cremate. I mistook that. Cause for wiping, as zap and cremate are similar in the early game.
From and the there's those squint done.
Yeah. You know who also never misses leg day, or should I say leggy day, Ragnarok, is my co-commentator.
Every day is leggy day when you're hanging out with me.
Slowly but surely, Thundercloud takes down 2 big giants to actually take that fight rather than running. Solid experience. While Kuketsuki just came away from Matoya with the canal at 42 minutes.
Alright, so that's everyone in canal. Call it.
Yeah, as Chad is pointing out, as far as like relative lead goes, it's honestly hard to say much in the early game of any Final Fantasy Randomizer seed, but since nobody has the 2 major progression items we're missing, there's just... you're not even that behind if you haven't gone sailing yet at this point.
Yeah, so really, no one is... You're not behind until you're behind finding the floater. If
basically
Yuketsuki go up to Mirage 1 on a lark and finds a canoe there, suddenly he's so far ahead compared to some of our other runners who are exploring other places.
Thunder just got out of some extreme danger. That was 3 light warriors down, only a white mage remaining, trying to run at less than 50% chance from a pair of big fat giants.
A white mage who does not appear to know life.
Oh, or maybe knows it but doesn't have the charges? Or has already used the charges?
Or is just saving the charges until after doing the chest checking. Nothing exciting there.
Alright, well, I'm just gonna have to see the magic count before I can even say, like, good luck. Because we got a mage staff and a prayer right now, it looks like. But Kuketsuki is converged on Earth as well, so we're getting some high-fiving of sorts from our 3 of our runners on stream.
It looks like Sonny's finishing up a Elfland shopping trip.
Yeah, I mean, the ribbon alone... Well, maybe I shouldn't say alone, but if you full clear a place and you don't get a key item, but you get a ribbon out of it, and ribbons maybe prove to be hard to find in the rest of the seed, I'm still gonna say worth.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, any dive that gets you a ribbon was worth it.
Right, and especially this early in the seed, the ribbon you get sooner prevents that many more deaths on down the line. Thunderclaw getting trolled a bit right before Lich, but makes it through with no more random encounters.
Come on,
So
let's see how this goes.
So Lich is generally cast heavy, though with the Fiend, and you could tell me more about this, with shuffling the Fiend 1 AIs, I don't know what the odds are to be punch heavy, and oh gosh, there's like no HP.
I don't actually know offhand. I'd actually have to do my homework on how... I forget the exact details on how the script shuffle actually works under the hood.
Mm-hmm. And to mark a milestone, the first orb is lit by any of the on-stream runners at about 46:30 when Thunderclaw defeated the Fiend of Earth.
Woo! Solo white mage!
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just good luck, right? Like, why not just play the rest of the seed as a solo white mage? What could go wrong?
Right?
Sonny and Kuketsuki passing by the same bats, or at least they were just a moment ago, while Bert is looks like about a floor ahead. So the seed didn't force runners to funnel towards Earth Cave, but it was kind of the most accessible option of what was available in the outer seed. And as far as what else we have on the table, well, chat was talking about how Thundercloud made it out of Earth Cave with enough money to go back and buy that heckin' expensive chime, so... Sky, anyone?
I really, really want to see at least the Mirage dive, if not the full clear of Sky.
Yeah, and full clear Sky, that's... Depending on when it becomes available, that's something I both love and hate doing. Love because, you know, I like math, you like math, and there's many chests, and many chests equals good. However, sometimes I don't find anything important in Sky, and then I go, oh, I've checked many chests, this is bad.
Yeah. I know we've seen Warp, which is definitely going to help clear chests in Sky, because there's some nice routing tricks you can do to save a little bit of movement running around some of the spidery floors of Sky. Have we seen Exit? As I say that, I see it at level 4.
Yep. And Whitelock. Also, with the extra levels that have been... I was going to say, with the extra levels acquired now on that Red Mage in particular, there's redundant copies of Life 2.
Yeah, that's really good.
So every runner... three of the runners on screen have 2 characters that can cast Life 2 pre-promotion, while Kuketsuki is just with the one Red Mage.
Yeah. Which, you know, that's one of the nice things about to have this sort of cost-benefit going on with how you build your party. And it's really interesting for me to see how these different parties shake out. As one of the designers for the spring tournament, one of the things I really want to do is try to build flag sets that encourage this sort of party diversity, where you can make choices, and sometimes they're going to be correct. Sometimes the seed's not going to be your seed because you gambled on not taking a white mage, and all the good white magic's white mage locked. But in another seed, that might be a perfectly fine option.
Absolutely, and we've got someone walking through the desert. Not sure if also riding a horse with no name, but Thunderclawed is about to give us some new chest reveals. And maybe we'll find if this Chimera is quadexable.
It is. Tiny robots.
Yeah, the guards, which are not too good at guarding against you if you have any electricity, but are otherwise somewhat formidable.
Look, they just want to give you hugs.
Ooh. We got an opal bracelet, one of the best pieces of gear in the game, in that it's a universally equipable body armor with very high absorb and very low evade penalty. And right next to it, so that's a loose item, because Power Bonk is an incentive pool, and also a black shirt, because hey, why not?
Yeah, so that's Power Bonk basically negates all concerns I had about Temper being as high level as it is. It's a item that casts Saber when used, which is basically Temper but better, but only self-targeting, and it's always nice to have that little bit extra AoE magic from the black shirt, especially against things like these Cerberai that are weak to ice.
Perfect. Yeah, and up on higher floors you get those packs of R-Hydras, which are also weak to ice. And one nice thing about this flag set for people that are, worried that they'll be underprepared, or maybe not find the right kind of things to win the game with, items that really are a win condition. Defense and Power Bonk both being in the incentive pool means if you really need those things, you're sitting around with like an ice sword or something before the end of the game, you still got a way to beat Chaos.
Yeah. And the defense sword is nice because as long as you're promoted, it's actually a reasonable endgame weapon. And with the added ability to cast Ruse, means that if there's any punch-happy fiends, it's a great way for, say, your fighter to get the evasion stacks up you need to get through it.
Exactly. Yeah, you can slap a ribbon, a defense sword, and a power bonk on basically any character, and at that point, the only things you're really scared of are non-elemental attacks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the only cure for Nuke is hit points.
Alright, we're about to see the less than greater than room, which opens up with one of my pet favorite little items, the Rune Sword. I like it because it's got a lot of elemental effectiveness throughout the game and is equipable by the Thief pre-promotion. But there was nothing else in that room of note. Sonny's spending some of that dedicated time on the Saria tile, well advised, especially in preparation for the spookiness down on Earth.
Earth's haunted. Ooh, Tyro Wyvern tile for free at the top of Mirage.
Nice, nice. Was also part of our pre-race discussion on solo grind tiles, for example. And what we had for dinner.
So that's actually a really nice, because when you're in a room on the other side of a door, for instance, and you walk along the bottom tile of that room, those steps are free. They don't count for your additional encounters. So you can walk back and forth on tiles like the one you see in Mirage 3 and a bunch of encounters of the thing you want to grind without worrying about other things jumping on you.
So you remember those dangerous Blizz ogres, Blizzard green ogres? Well, they have a script full of spells and scripts, including some really hard-hitting stuff, and Brack Break is one of them. So we've got 2 stoned characters up on Kuketsuki's screen, and now a dead red mage.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so that thief might need to live, because it's dangerous down here.
Yeah. And really, this is just a race to see who can get out of Earth Cave the fastest.
Right.
Thunderclawed getting jumped on by some bad men who are... I'd say that they're really punchy, but no, bad men are usually that punchy.
Yeah, that's a tile that I've seen in the past be, say, a forced encounter shuffled in and just be so gratuitously difficult to get through with a party that's not yet, high level defense and armor.
Yeah. We've got Burt Reynolds trying to throw the Lich down into the depths of the earth, but takes it down with the swing from the fighter for 150 damage, lighting our second orb at about 5640.
Yeah, I've got to say, the pace for orb lighting so far in this seed, quite a bit slower than what I've observed in previous runs of this flag set. And of course, all data is good data when we're trying to figure out if this is a flag set we want to see more of. Yeah, we're going on an hour almost, and it's just been a bit of a grind because the progression options weren't amazing, the magic wasn't amazing, and that's really where we landed.
Ooh, Thundercloud finding a flame sword, which is a nice upgrade for that fighter.
Yeah, very much so. Flame sword is kind of in that tier of weapons where, at least in the vanilla game, but more so, it's different in Randomizer with weapon fixes and such, that starts to break through. It's got elemental effectivity against many enemies. It's got a nice bump in both hit percentage and attack power from sort of the mid-tier of weapons below it.
Yeah, you don't necessarily want to be swinging it against Chaos, but if you have to, you don't really feel that bad about it.
Yeah, the main drawback is just the crit rate if you were to use it that late in the game.
Yeah.
Noted in chat, but something that we discussed a little bit much earlier in the seed is that left side of Sea Shrine has been sitting there with, about 7? No, more than that, about 10 chests, in addition to a possible lightable Kraken orb.
Ooh, Zeus Gauntlet. If I recall correctly, it's the Thor Hammer that is incentivized.
That's right.
It's basically the same thing, except put it on his armor, as far as I'm concerned. But still, always nice to have another bit of free AoE damage.
Yep, and lightning elemental damage is probably the best of what is available in these AoE caster items, just because so few enemies in the game resist lightning.
Yeah, we do have access to all 3 of the basic black magic elements. Ooh, Gurnagas have HP for days.
So Kuketsuki is full speed ahead right now, driving over the speed bump, and did you notice anything?
I mean, stopped for a second, but I figured he was just, updating his tracker.
While Burt Reynolds might be either the last runner into Marsh, or if Burt was in here earlier, did not do the top.
Yeah, Sonny is taking out the garbage fiend of the elements. And Thunder opens up an Excalibur.
That's a nice treat, though we will need both the floater and the tail, and we've seen neither.
I mean, worst case scenario, you can go in and try to play Thrift Shop Bargain Hunters with that sword. See if they'll give you more than 1,000.
The Whiz-Vamps here that Thunderclaw is running into are actually generally quite an excellent monster to kill if they didn't roll too high in HP. And also these ones are being nice enough to try casting Quad X and failing, which is a lot better than hitting for the normal high damage that they do.
Yeah. At the point, the fighter had 404 HP, so they just couldn't find it to compare against.
Hey!
For those of you who are unaware or new to this game, Quad X is a spell that works kind of like the Power Word spells in D&D. If you don't resist death, it checks to see if you have 300 HP or less. If you do, if you don't, if you have 301 HP or more, nothing happens.
That's right. And the Red Hydras, alluded to earlier, Thunderclaw dispatching them effectively with the black shirt picked up on the previous floor, not previous, but on a previous floor. While we've still got a slow crawl through Earth Cave for Kuketsuki, and
oh my god!
Clearing all of Marsh.
Thunderclaw finds both the Mazmune and a loose crown in the far side of Sky 3.
That's impressive. So the upshot of that is that basically everyone has to go there and get that third boost, which invariably is going to lead to progression.
Yeah.
And also they'll be rewarded by getting a Mazda right there.
Yeah, so that crown has to lead to, like, the ruby or the canoe.
That's right.
Yeah. It can't lead to key because it was, in fact, the final loose item in the seed. Well, it could be intermediately the ruby. Could also be intermediately like the bottle. But the the ruby would be nice because that does unlock. Because we've got incentivized Titans and, of course, Sarda.
Yeah, Sarda is a double key item trip in this flag set, which actually makes for some pretty interesting early seed rolls, but not one that we got this time around. And speaking of what's happened this time around, we've just crested about an hour into the seed. It's a relatively slow progressing Final Fantasy randomizer seed with only one orb lit across 3 different players. We started out by seeing kind of mediocre magic, things like Quake. We did not see an early Provoca, so we had to skip from level 1 to levels 3 and 4 magic. Sea Shrine was on the table early. Mirage was on the table early, gated behind a big chunk of money for the chime in the shop. And runners decided to not do those dangerous things and go for the softer Marsh Cave and Earth Cave mostly.
Yeah, but in terms of the progression that gets us here, we had the Chime for Sale in Elfland. We had a cube at the Circle of Sages, which we needed to find the canal loose at Matoya to get to. By those powers combined, we were able to climb up the Mirage Tower all the way up into the Sky Castle, where we can find the crown, and we don't know what the crown turns into yet.
And we've got, and it's totally reasonable. I would have accepted this line if Thunder had taken it Thunder is going up to complete Tiamat. It's the most efficient play to make, but I could have also seen someone getting up here and saying, gosh, I need to follow that progression. I'm too weak. This is too dangerous. I've been full clearing a dungeon since the beginning. I might be low on resources, something, something. So Thunder making the efficient play to head on through, but I could see another runner coming up here and taking an exit out.
Yeah, like, it really depends. I really like going after Tiamat because of how deep you are in the dungeon by the time you find that progression you need. Like, you're already most of the way up there. Leaving and coming a lot more, whereas if I find the progression down in Mirage somewhere, then I don't feel bad about taking that exit out because I haven't put that much time into exploring yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the worry that I was going to get to is just that Warmech being vanilla, it's unpredictable. You could just run into it on the Bridge of Destiny and be like, oh, I just got first turn nuked, and then suddenly, your whole dive is gone. So it's a small risk that you have to keep in the back of your mind, but we're on to the Tiamat fight, and it seems to be going just fine so far for Thunder.
With Thunder's levels, the Masa and the Power Gauntlet, and all of the Invis 2 charges that White Mage has been holding on to since level 1, I see literally no reason not to do this.
Yeah, it's true that Sky itself both geared us up and leveled us up to get to this point. Sunny at the Mermaids now, about to find out the general mehness of it all. Kuketsuki's pushing into the Sea Shrine, though we've yet to see if it'll be a left or right trip.
Thunderclaw's fighter gets stunned, unfortunately, and the Quad X's aren't quite working yet.
Yeah, it might be that ribbon is still on the White Mage. I didn't see Thunderclaw's pre-battle equipment.
Yeah, Tiamat, and yes, the ribbon is still on the White Mage.
Makes sense. Well, Tiamat's missing, so the physical damage does not seem to be a concern, but that damage poison was a bit spicy.
Yeah. They're definitely... Thunder's party is at max evasion stacks. Between the Red Mage and the White Mage, a bunch of Invis 2s went off to start this fight.
For reference, Tiamat is the strongest of the 4 vanilla First Fiends and has a base HP of 1,000 pre-randomization, so this is a fight that on this flag set could roll up to 2,300.
Yeah, and with 8 hits for like 50 damage there, I totally respect taking the turn to get the extra cast of Saber off.
Oh, that was a big hit with the Maza, but not enough yet.
Yeah. I haven't really been tracking how much damage Tiamat soaked so far, but it's been a fair bit.
Yeah, we've seen over 1,000 now, for sure.
Definitely. She rolled high.
And by the way, Kuketsuki's in left side C, which was going to be exciting earlier when we didn't know the side locations. Now, a thing that could still be a reward for a left side C full clear is, of course, more ribbons. By the way, Thunderclawed lights second orb, takes down Tiamat. Kuketsuki can be rewarded with a second or third ribbon. In addition, we still haven't seen a few pieces of elite gear, mostly in the armor category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at this point, I'm willing to give Thunderclawed the strong advantage in this race right now.
Yes, that the ability to not only get through Earth successfully, but then immediately make the turn and go towards Sky has put Thunderclawed now in what feels like a true full one-orb lead.
Yeah. Sani does pull the Bane chest out of the Greed Hall Sea Shrine. So that might be useful when dealing with these later two fiends. But yeah, if Thunderclad hadn't found that crown up in Sky, I think that dive would have still been really good. That Masa was definitely worth it, but finding both the final loose item, meaning that he'll be able to go mode Sea Shrine just entirely, is definitely going to be a strong, strong benefit for him.
Yep. Yeah, Sky was stacked literally top to bottom. The first floor had stuff, the top floor had stuff, or the top floor that has treasures. We got 2 items out of the way. We got elite gear. So, Sky, Sky, Sky. Interestingly, we got 2 runners on this metal slime encounter tile. Sorry, they both shuffled their enemy names, so it's not a metal slime. It's a reference to Dragon Warrior with its high experience yield enemies. They're just called slimes in the base game.
Yeah, but these are down on one of the foresting. Is that the Sharknado tile?
It's probable. I've seen a red dragon encounter. Yeah, it is. I've seen a red dragon encounter also on this floor. There's a way to get more than 1 red dragon on the B-side tiles.
Yeah, and slimes are actually a pretty good encounter in terms of experience. Let me check my notes.
Yep, and they're weak to fire, so great if you have a fire AoE, like, say, a Mage Staff. But they resist many other elements. Thundercloud onto one of the most terrifying bosses of a vanilla level 8 party, but we're much higher than that, and Astos disappears in 1 cast.
Yeah, slimes aren't amazing experience on their own, but because they come in such huge packs, you can really stack up the experience from taking down a...
Alright, we've got a Kraken fight. We could be seeing some chopped squid very soon. Kyuketsuki's going for Bane strats though, so maybe some smoked squid.
Ooh. I mean, I know I already had dinner.
The fighter has taken a bit of a beating, but is still holding the front line, and really, you just need time when it comes to using these instant kill spells. The more opportunities, the better. You're rolling about a 1 in 5 chance to kill with Bane. Or maybe it's like 1 in 6. I think it's a little lower.
Unfortunately, Kyuketsuki throwing out the Quake. Lich, of course, being an underwater enemy, does resist the Earth element.
Kraken, that is. Yes.
Yes. Earth element, you see where I get my confusion.
Yes. Sani Wrath on the Kraken floor. Gonna probably hope to have better success here than what Kyuketsuki's had so far, because that's just a Ret Mage. But with some Lit 3 casts.
Yeah, Lit 3 not good enough though, and Kyuketsuki goes down.
Yeah, it's hard to say how much HP that Kraken had, since we weren't starting out going for damage strats. But Lit 3 is something that with, sometimes only 3-4 charges can get you through the fight.
And while we were focusing on squids, Thunderclawed was running down a fetch quest that eventually led to, as expected, the canoe.
Yay! So we're looking at past the hour and 15 mark. We're going to have our first runner in the air, depending on how Thunderclap wants to route this. Looks like maybe a trip over to Sea Shrine to take care of Kraken first, or just wanting to dock up here for some reason.
Well, we haven't found the floater yet. It is entirely possible that the seed is floaterless. Not that can't find the floater, but that it's just not required to beat the seed. All we need right now is the key and the loot, and Thundercloud is in go mode.
Right. Yeah. So unfortunately, I did forget that we hadn't found the floater yet, so to walk that back just a bit, we won't have anyone in the air sometime soon. The seed has gone on for so long without it that, in my mind, the single next key item we found was going to sort of break open the seed and then get us in the air, but it was the canoe, which actually opens Ordeals, Waterfall, and Ice Cave. So now we have 3 more opportunities for Floater, as well as, how you mentioned, those key items needed to win the game.
I mean, you weren't wrong about it breaking open the seed. That is definitely accurate.
Yeah. And the seed has had kind of two big opening events, right, where you had the first time where you could sail to a bunch of different fiend dungeons, and now you can canoe your way around to a bunch of different key item dungeons.
Oof. Sani also taking a wipe to the Kraken.
Oof, not a very lucky run for some of our runners. But yes, as you were saying, and to expand on that, all Final Fantasy Randomizer seeds will be rolled such that if you want them, you can collect every key item. They can't permalock you out of, say, a floater that's trapped inside the Gaia location, but we could absolutely just head on over to Topher and go straight in if we found a different way to reach all the 4 fiends like the orbs and then get our key items.
Exactly, and here, between the incentive robot, if we find a ruby, the locations at Sarda and Titan, and Ice Cave and Castle Ordeals, the odds of needing the floater to beat the seed are starting to get really, really reduced.
Yeah. And we're also losing some of the advantages of fast travel as time goes on, because with the key item layout funneling everyone through Sky pre-floater to get that crown, then you've already taken the trip to Sky out of the way. With Onrak being shuffled into the inner sea, you don't need to fly over to the vanilla Onrak place. So we've already done all the hard sailing.
Yeah, that said, because of the way the seed has been passed out, we haven't seen Provoca yet.
That's right.
So finding that floater for level 2 alone.
Yeah.
Not to mention whatever the key item at Provoca is.
Right. Yeah, some noteworthy magic that I haven't seen yet, something like an Ice 3 could be a good low-level AoE that, at level 2 you're going to have tons of charges to cast. We could find some nice things to end up in the night learnable promotion magic pool. I know we have Life 2, but I'm not sure if we've seen Life 1, which could be there.
Yeah. Plus, if we find the tail, Bahamut is still locked away behind the floater.
Robot time!
Beep boop. Ooh, and it's unrunnable.
Well, the
Oscar,
seed
you made some choices tonight.
So we've got 2 spooky fights happening simultaneously across our bottom 2 runners on the screen. And honestly, Thunderclaw's not having so hot of a time himself, but does take out Kraken for the first time of any of the runners on stream. It has 3 orbs lit at 119.
Yeah, that is not a lot of hit points on that fighter.
So it's the case that a full clear leading up to this war mech would have gotten all that gear we were talking about earlier, but I don't know what arrangement, what equipment arrangement Burt Reynolds had done or bought defense, ribbon trifecta or anything of that sort for safety, and it doesn't look like he did.
Gets the 3 and 256 Quake. Oh my god!
That's the stuff of legends right there. Burt probably just saved this run.
Wow.
Yep. That's one of those stories you'll tell your grandkids who definitely will be playing randomizers, right?
I hope so.
I mean, same.
But, oh, that was beautiful.
So, offensive cranking up struts here. Already fasting the fighter and power bonking is Burt, so off to a good start on the TMN fight.
Yeah, and it looks like Thunderclawed is going down and is going to go take out the last, the Fiend of Fire carry.
And notably, not checking chests in the armory, a place that people usually love to clear out the chests, but it usually is available much earlier while you're still looking for things, and there's nothing to look for. Loose items, check. Elite gear, check.
And so this is just going to be a go mode clear, just get in, kill the Fiend, get out.
Right. Thundercloud isn't in go mode by item possession, but is in go mode by knowledge of where those remaining items must be, so certainly can just blaze through the volcano.
Yeah, and especially with Warp and Exit, you can go in, you can check the incentive chest, and then just exit out without worrying about doing the whole loop of the dungeon and all the standard rigmarole that dungeon tends to put people through.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty drama-free ice compared to many an ice cave in past, say, FFR tournaments.
Yeah. Actually, drama-free ice is my new co-op team.
And that's 2 orbs lit for Burt Reynolds. Tiamat down.
Nice. Ooh, carry one-shots that Black Mage of Thunderclawds. But Thunderclawd's fighter returns the favor.
Yeah. These are these flags, again, they're so all over the place with the boss scaling because it's a high percentage, but it's not clamped, so things can be very, very scary or very, very weak, or a little bit of a mix of both, say with strong punches but terribly low HP pools.
That said, Carrie's base HP is 600, so that was a low roll. Sure, ridiculously low for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she can roll as low as, like, just over 250.
Wow. Sonny taking this Manticore encounter up here in Mirage Tower is a pretty good one. When you get 4 Manticores, that's a respectable chunk of the XP, even in a pinch. In some seeds in the past, say with shuffled encounter zones, I've used that as my grind tile.
Sonny, making the smart play to go back and say, to heck with this Sea Shrine, I'm going up into the sky, which we know at this point is going to pay off for him.
Yeah. No, it's really elevated his chances. Just dead silence, I understand.
I saw what you did there. I just wanted to let it sit. Let it percolate. Let chat understand what you just...
Yeah, it's a veteran caster move. And this quickly, Thunder's heading around into the core Leap of the Ice Cave. This is sort of where the real dungeon identity starts, because you start getting chests, and you've got the warp trick that you can play here that you can't do in vanilla. We're gonna have to keep our suspense bottled up a little bit longer. You don't have to let me on these broadcasts, I understand.
I'm very sure you know what you're doing, so...
As it sounds like you do too. So once we take this... Oh gosh, this is so funny. Once we take this bottle back through the river system to our ship, then take our ship all the way to the sea continent and go to the vanilla on-rack location to where Gaia has been shuffled and turn in the bottle, we'll know what it is. And God forbid if it's the herb.
Isn't the worst play, because you can also check the robot and ordeals while you're up there as well.
Yeah, sure. But of course, if it's the herb and you're just like, give me a floater, like you...
Yeah. Honestly, well, if I get something like the herb, I'm not going to bother coming back until I check all 3 locations.
So we've got Kuketsuki back on the Peninsula of Power Grind quite late in the seed at 126. Hasn't been able to save sort of enough levels in progress throughout the seed to really like break through and just sort of never level naturally while grinding throughout the dungeons.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate. In a lot of cases, I probably would have taken Kuketsuki's party in, given what I knew of this flag set, but this seed's just been rough. You really want to have that white mage level of survivability. But also it feels like while Sea Shrine has some particularly nasty enemies, Mirage and Sky seem to be a little bit on the softer side. Thanks to the variance of the seed.
Yeah, absolutely. And of note, since we're touching on the difference in party here and the ramifications, this flag set has a couple of properties that pull you one way or the other. On one hand, it's Town Shuffle, which can mean, like we saw today, early Sea Shrine dives, and it can also mean that the magic is pushed away such that your red mages, say, aren't as good, and you kind of need the chance for the white mage and black mage to secure everything available. On the other hand, when you're looking for 3 loose items in a seed, you're going to open a lot of boxes, and you're going to need to run from a lot of encounters. So the Thief has just that much... Like, the Thief is always double or more, pretty much, than the white mage until the very late game, in terms of chance to run.
And so... it's the question of, do you want that run chance to help you out in the short term, or even the long term over the course of the seed if you think you're going to be running around everywhere? Or do you want that stability and safety, albeit slight lack of speed, that the white mage offers, especially with Fiend dungeons and your final Topher dive?
That's right. Or, if you're Crabcakes, why not both? Crabcakes having run a Thief Rainbow party just the other day to win a race on this flag set.
Yeah, which...
sorry, it was not on this flag set, but go on.
It is a nice balance, because, if the Thief does give you a lot of that run chance, so if you sit down and grind, and you can run away from everything else, maybe you just want to take things as you go. There's a large amount of calculus at play when you're picking your initial party that you have to make before you even see what's up. Kuketsuki has just picked up his chime. Sani just found his crown. Let's go. Our runners are making a bit more forward progress.
Yeah, you love to see runners get unblocked and get past those critical points in the run. That's usually either a sigh of relief, like, oh, thank gosh, I can do stuff, or it's a vent of frustration when you're like, shucks, I wish I could have been doing stuff.
Yeah, and of course, at the end of the day, with a lot of these things, you just don't know what the right choice is going to be. For all our runners knew, Sky was empty. The tiny fairy has the floater.
Hooray! That's how she got out of the water. She just floats out of the bubble right to the top.
Yeah. So let's see what our robot has and what we have at Ordeals, and then we can start doing the calculus of whether or not to get said floater. Ooh, this is an interesting waterfall cave.
Fascinating. Would you like to tell us more about why the waterfall looks the way it does, Leggy?
Because I told it to be weird. So one of the flags that I wrote, I did this. This is my fault. You can yell at me later. Was to procedurally generate the layout of the waterfall cave. You'll notice that this one in particular looks fairly similar to how they look in vanilla. Because of the underlying way that I structured the algorithm to do the layout. If you look at a waterfall cave in vanilla, it's kind of made out of these like 4x4 tiles that form the rooms, and so I tried to pattern that in the actual generation algorithm itself.
Now, in the vanilla waterfall layout, can you walk through it in any fashion in a way that loops around, or does that only occur in the proc gen?
So, there is no full loop in the waterfall cave in vanilla. It is just one winding path, but because of the way that the maps in Fantasy 1 work, if you wrap around the other side, you wrap around the other side. That's not an issue to the game's underlying logic.
Yeah, and as far as places that we have to go, being utterly loaded this seed, so Sky was one thing. We just picked up defense, another ribbon, and a key item right here in the waterfall. That key item being... I just missed it.
The defense?
Oh, right. It wasn't a key item. It was the incentive defense from the robot. That's it. But we picked up
we also found is the best shield for the promoted knight.
Assuming you pair it with a dragon armor, otherwise there are calculations to be made.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of the other shields have elemental resistances.
Flame shield, ice shield, and opal shield all resist one of the sort of Pokemon elements. You know, where they're like the fire, ice, lightning.
Huh. I forgot that the opal shield also had the lit resist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the all of the other opal gear, like the bracelet and the helmet and all that stuff. None of that has any of the elemental resistance, but shield just on brand with the other shields does.
Yeah. I guess for me, I don't really think about it because I care way more about resisting Bane than I do Lit 3.
Yeah, Bane is super scary. The amount of your runs that can end to either Bane off a Fiend or the high damage roll of, say, a damage poison or a random enemy with stone poison in Topher, a lot higher at that point than what you're going to do taking damage from Lit 3 Thunder and so forth.
Yeah, and of course, all this calculus is also orthogonal when you... because elemental resistances don't stack, they're just a binary. Do you have resistance? Do you not have resistance flag?
That's right. And also, we need to promote, and I don't know if Thundercloud's gonna? We'll see, right?
Yes.
That means turning in the floater and then doing the round trip to Bahamut.
Does he have the tail?
And also, having the tail is definitely a prerequisite.
Yeah.
So if it's vanilla tail here, then we actually do have to fly and finish off our key item trains.
Exactly. But well, we're gonna have to do some flying anyway, because we've still got Provoca, we've still got, and I think Melman's the other flying locked town.
Yeah, that's right. So the slab chain and talking to Vicky both mean 2 key items are out of reach until you have the floater.
Yes. And you called it. It's a vanilla tail.
So that trip not worth. I don't think I saw anything else good in the 9 chests preceding.
Yeah. So Ordeals is effectively skippable.
Wait, hang on. Chest. I think it's 8 chests preceding. I was double counting because there's a linked chest.
Yes. Though that I do believe the forced encounter in front of the chest in the pillar maze is a unique forced encounter.
That's right. Thankfully, though, the sailing trip from that location up here to the Ryokan desert, not too bad. So, not a big waste for Thundercloud to stop at the Castle of Ordeals along the way.
Yeah, Sani is doing the slow grind against Tiamat. Burt Reynolds is out of Ice, and Kyukatsuki is making his way up Sky.
Yep. Well, Thundercloud is now 21 minutes after I first tried to talk about it, the first person in the air at 136.
Oh, right. And there's also Sarda.
Yeah. That's sorta important.
I'm gonna laugh if this is the Ruby. It's not. I don't get to laugh.
Yep, so as a reminder for those who maybe missed our talk of the flag set earlier on in the broadcast, there are 3 pieces of gear in the pool, the defense, the power bonk, and the Thor hammer. Sarda just gave us the last of those 3 that we've seen. That does possibly lead to a bit of confusion if you're not truly familiar with the flag set yet, because as Chet pointed out, Burt Reynolds was still full clearing through Ice Cave, so might not have recognized that the power bonk was part of the pool and thus a loose item towards that count.
Alternatively, might just be uncomfortable with his and on the hunt for unclear what, maybe the white shirt. But it's one of those things where if a runner goes through, and Ice is a fairly fast clear with the spells that we have. Ooh, level 2 Wall and Root.
Yeah, those are great on a night attack. Well, it's a little too late to be relevant because we've got double ribbon and wall is even at the same level. But A-Rub, underrated spell.
Black magic is a little under Lock 2 being by far the best spell because in the randomizer, Lock 2 is fixed to always be 100% accurate, and what it does is evasion of enemies you cast on it. So if you have something that's being really sword at it, you can get it slow down and get smacked.
Correct. So yeah, we had the pirates have been dealing in the trade of illegal plants. I don't know, these might be like really big Venus flytraps that wouldn't pass an inspection.
Look, all I'm gonna say, Fantasy Legend 2 taught me anything, it's banana.
Are we gonna see a nuke here at level 5? I know I haven't seen the Lefane shops.
Yeah. No nuke at level 5, but we do see Gear 4.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think that was slot 3 on Gear 4, which... let me double check. Not that's Red Mage learnable. I'm always a little shaky on Red Mage spells after...
Red Mage... Wait, so did you say the white or the black?
White slot 3?
It's pre-promotion, slot 1, post-promotion, slot 2, nothing in 3 or 4.
Okay, so that Cure 4 might be off the table for our Red Mage.
We are about to see what the Lupa Lupa town has for us, and it's another fetch quest, because even post Floater, right, the Ruby's still relevant here because that's an incentive location, so we gotta go over and check out the Titan Tunnel.
Yeah, so we've got the Titan Tunnel, and we've got the Elvish Prince, and I think that's basically the full clear of the seed.
That's right. So if you're wondering about why things are taking this long, Final Fantasy Randomizer is often a game that can be completed in 1 to 1.5 hours. Not all seeds require you to have this awkward of a route and check out every key item.
Yeah. This seed could have been a lot faster. We could have been able to do it without the floater. Unfortunately, that's not the case this time, but there have been possible if the RNG had been slightly different.
Yeah. So that key there is essential for a reason some people might not recognize relative to if they played the base game. In the base game, you do need the key to progress, but you need it because of getting the TNT out of Kineria. In the Randomizer, you actually need it because a door you would never think is locked in the Temple of Fiends.
Indeed. And it looks like all of our runners are basically retracing Thunderclaw's steps, albeit a few steps behind each. Burt Reynolds has just cleared Ordeals and is looking to the Waterfall Cave. Sonny Wrath is in the middle of the chain to get his canoe, and Kyu Katsuki is just about to pull the crown. Or has. It looks like he's running back from it. That's
right. And at 141 and change, we've got our first runner on stream into Temple of Fiends Revisited. Let's go. We've got first strike against some Frost Dragons, that's nice. What I was going to say is we've got a lot of high-tier encounters in this dungeon. It's very dangerous. It requires a lot of resources generally to get through from beginning to end. A lot of preparation in terms of the levels. We'll see what
else do you expect from a final dungeon?
Yeah, fair. I certainly expect a lot of bad men, like this one.
Oof.
But I don't expect a lot of imps.
Look, all I'm going to say is with that on those Grimps, that could have been
Could have been the final boss.
Yeah.
So to refresh for anyone who didn't see or know of the flag that we were just passing there, the shuffled encounter tiles are on the B side, which means there are encounters, those that you don't see in the vanilla game. In some cases, it's formations entirely that are not encounterable in the wild in the vanilla game. And so the Phantom, which should be there, which is, a modest boss, it punches quite hard. The Phantom was not there today.
However, all of the Fiend refights that you know and love are still in place.
That's right. Sonny just picked up the canoe, so off to the full clear of the remainder of the floaterless map, and hopefully chooses to go up towards Waterfall first. Or was it Waterfall? Hang on. Floater was... No, what about his defense? Floater came off of that endless fetch quest. Yeah, the fairy had the floater, excuse me. So it's actually Ice Cave. Ice Cave is the required one. Ordeal's Waterfall can be skipped.
Yeah. Though the Ordeal that extra ribbon, which, again, covers a lot of sins.
Mm-hmm. So we've got a TO1 fight here on Yuketsuki's screen. This has been kind of giving our runners trouble. We've we've seen a lot of these slow, grindy Kraken 1 and Tier 1 fights, which is not always the case. The first tier of fiends being significantly less scary than the second tier in most randomizer runs.
But that said, because the stats are randomized, up or down, we might find that Tia 2 is a complete pushover compared to Tia.
That's right. And speaking of pushovers, Thunderclaw just pushed something over. I think it's kind of like a skeleton wearing a cloak and not much else.
Hey now. Lich 2 can occasionally be a little brutal. This case goes down easy to a single Masamin swing.
Mm-hmm. No, Lich on this flag set can roll in the neighborhood of 1,000 HP, and like any of the 5 Topher bosses plus Mormek can have stuff like nuke and nuclear, so not a complete afterthought, but usually so.
Indeed. Yeah, and for various reasons, the game does not include any of the sprite hacks in the game itself. However, if you join our Discord, hint hint, we can help you get started doing some of your own sprite hacks, or point you at any existing hacks that are out there in the world.
That's right, and I've linked the Discord in chat.
Excellent, thank you.
We're on the second Fiendry fight here for Thunderclawed, Carry 2. We just smacked for 10 hits, 470 damage, so pretty solid. Quadix not landing though, so a high HP roll.
Yeah. But one of the things that's worth noting is we haven't scary come out from these enemies yet.
That's right. Whereas we've got some Fire 3s which unresisted are, but thankfully the 2 most important members are just shrugging that damage off.
Woo! Quad X lands, carry goes down. 3 more... Well, 3 more fights that matter to go.
Yep. And it's pretty interesting. So Thundercloud's been taking an approach this seed, which I don't see too often, where you've got the Fighter Rainbow cast, but you have your Red Mage actually as the banned character to funnel experience. And in this case it made sense because, you know, the magic distribution being what it was, the Red Mage wasn't quite as strong as other seeds. And I should just expand, I used an in-community term, Dan. When we say Dan a character, we're referring to leaving a character dead or stoned so that the other characters get proportionally more experience. But importantly, Thundercloud's fighter is past the point of level 24 and wielding a Masamune, which gets an extra hit on fighters at level 24. Alright, and here's the big one. The first, often, major gatekeeper fiend of the Temple of Fiends Revisited fights is Kraken 2, who, among many other possible scary properties that all the fiends can have, has one major factor, which is all those legs get to attack. There are 8 hits in vanilla, and this can roll even higher in the randomizer, and there's a lot of power behind those hits.
Yeah, and of course, some days Kraken's punches are what's scary. Some days, well, any one of these fiends can just roll in with nuke or nuke and nuclear and just give you a bad time.
Yeah, we're actually seeing lock strats come out. So we talked about lock earlier, and to expand on that a bit, the lock spell reduces enemy evasion or agility, to be kind of interchangeable stat, by 20. And comparably, the invis spells raise your own by 40, and Ruse or the defense sword raise it by 80, so that gives you an idea of how the lock spell will bring down opposing evasion, and then make more of your melee hits land to break through to get the damage you need.
Yeah, the difference between the two is that lock is single target and lock 2 is area of effect. However, for the most part, you don't really worry about throwing out lock against enemies that come in packs because they aren't scary enough to really be a concern.
Exactly. This fight, though, is ongoing. It took until that third big fighter hit to get through. So Kraken 2 wasn't an offense, was sort of a wipe your party kind of gatekeeper, but was definitely a bit grindier than usual thanks to the ability to evade.
Yeah. And now let's see what Tiamat 2 is up to.
So Tiamat 2 brings along quite respectable physical damage, not quite matching Kraken 2, but a larger HP pool and otherwise larger base stats overall, so you have to be worried about the physical threat and the magic threat.
Yeah, it's an extra 200 HP over Kraken nations.
So if you're approaching this fight and then thinking about your strategy to prepare, Tiamat, known to be a bit longer of a fiend fight, you do some of the prep that you would do on Chaos. You raise your evasion, you raise your temper, you do your tempers, your sabers, and so forth, because its odds are you're going to need 3-4 plus rounds to have a chance.
Yeah. Of course, this randomizer being a randomizer, some days that it goes up and some days that goes down. Looks like paralyzing the red mage. But let's see how things keep going. The white mage falls. Fighter hitting for 1655 10.
That was enormous and not enough.
Yeah. However, with hits like that, Tiamat is not long for this world.
Absolutely. So, we've got the final floor of the Temple of Fiends revisited. This is the last boss, there are no others, and it is Chaos. We haven't shuffled Chaos away, so once Thunderclaw completes all pre-fight prep, which may include, say, moving characters around to manipulate which characters are most likely to be attacked, we're about to see what Chaos has to offer.
Yeah, so for those of you keeping score at home, each one of the slots in your party basically has I'm going to call it a threat value. The first slot has threat value 4, 2 has 2 threat, and the bottom 2 slots have threat 1. To determine who gets hit, add those up, roll a die. So if all 4 party members are up, slot 1 has about a 50%, slot 2 25, and the 8. Oof.
Sorry to cut off the explanation of the threat level, but we have another threat level happening here in that Chaos is skill happy, it seems, and opened up with a Inferno, which is the highest damage elemental skill in the game, into Nuclear, a non-elemental AoE, and the black magic is gone.
Yeah, which, luckily, the Power Bonk and the Moss Moon, I missed. Did Thunder get off the fast before the black casters went down?
Looks like it. Oh!
Oh, this
so, okay. What's our win condition? Is Fade in that inventory? I don't think so.
No, Fade's not in the inventory. What random caster item?
That's right, caster item and Cure 4.
Yeah, but that's it. So at this point, really what you're trying to do is fish out the spells, or really hoping to key off that mage staff.
Short skill list, though, or possibly 2 nuclears. 2 nuclears would be absurd.
It's
That's wrapped around.
So it's Inferno, Nuclear. I missed what the third one was. It wasn't really important. Nuclear.
Plus nuke in the spells.
Yeah, so Chaos is played for keeps.
Oh, Thunder. Which Thunder is a threat in and of itself.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the runner.
No, chat helped me out with that one.
Yeah.
So, if Thundercloud is to pull this out, it would be more drama than we were ever expecting for the finish here, but
right?
I have to say the odds aren't good. The magic is running out, but the hits keep coming.
Yeah. There's Thunder, that puts Nuclear up next. One on the punches, low rolls the Nuclear. That's almost a min damage.
Yeah, that's actually really critical here because we're still in the range where we can survive on the Nuclear. Zap does not get the 3 and 256, so no worries there. But there's the second, yeah.
That's unfortunate.
So for those watching at home, we've had a Topher wipe. Thundercloud will have to go back through, make another attempt from the beginning, refight all those bosses. So while that's happening, we'll check back in with the other runners. We've got 2 runners in Ice Cave, Kuketsuki and Sonirath, an essential dungeon because it contains the bottle, which leads to a floater once you exchange it to the fairy, who's been shuffled to the on-rack location. And Burt Reynolds is in the left side of the Sea Shrine, heading to light his 4th orb on Kraken. So to get back to the high drama of the moment, we've got a wipe on Chaos, right? So you have to make some decisions at that point. I'm sure I've got some strats in mind, you've got some strats in mind. So what we've seen Thundercloud do is go right back in and say, I need some turn order, I'm going to approach things maybe a little differently on the fight itself next time.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we've got Burt Reynolds with 1 orb away from being hot on Thundercloud's. So
Absolutely.
One bad wipe, maybe from a fiend, a spare that we didn't see on the first dive, could make this a really close runners.
Yeah. As we say in the Final Fantasy Randomizer community, Topher is the great equalizer. A wipe costs in the neighborhood of 7 to 10 minutes, depending on how deep it happened, and that's when you start getting a little sweaty, right? That's when other people start catching up. That's when you're looking at IRC with those shifty eyes.
Oof. Burt missing the Brack on Kraken 2.
Or Kraken 1, right?
Yes, sorry.
Or it could have been on Kraken as well.
Well, Kraken 1 goes down for Burt. Last orb lit. We've got a race, depending on how well this Topher dive goes for Thundercloud.
Mm-hmm. So, levels-wise, we'll probably want to take stock. We've seen Thundercloud going through mid-20s on everything, but lower on the Red Mage. If I can get a shot of Burt Reynolds' character screen, we'll see how...
It says 28 on Burt's fighter.
Okay, so that's better. Right now, we need raw HP totals. Nuclear, nuclear, plus the other assorted elemental damage that was coming through. The best defense against that is HP. The second best defense is magic defense, but HP, much more important there.
Yeah. And that fighter is rocking 600 hit points for Burt, which is an extra 100 over what Thunder has.
Yeah. So optimistically, those spells and skills rather, have a broad range that they can roll in. 80 is the minimum, 320 is the maximum for nuclear, it's 100 to 400 for nuke. I won't go into the full details of the formulas here, but needless to say, the fighter and along with the black belt have a little bit more resistance to those high rolls. So the combination of HP and magic def that you get being as high leveled as Burt Reynolds could make the difference. Yeah, and the other thing about the seed is that with carrying a fighter, with the levels that we're coming in at, there's usually a couple turns of preparation you need to, say, get your melee character up to maximum power, or good enough to take care of the fights in a swift manner. But when you're on a clock, when the skill list and the spell list have nuke and nuclear, you don't have as much time to do those buffs. It's not safe. So, we could be looking at maybe just one turn of power bonk and just go, go, go. Or pray that the fast gets off and don't even bother with the power bonk because you might just be, dead in 3 turns.
Yeah, it's an interesting question of how you want to balance your safety versus pure offense versus the setup you need to really get that powerful level of offense. Yeah, and Burt is already within 1 floor of Thunderclawed.
And with so I think there's also just more total levels to go around in Burt's party, so this party is a bit more resilient across the board. It's going to bring more spell charges and stuff, in addition to the fighter being higher.
Yeah, and the fighter's extra levels don't give any extra swings, because that's going to be a few more levels to get the extra final swing off the Masa. But what it is going to do is it's going to have just a little bit extra damage on it in general. Which may or may not help cut through some of these fiends in 1 fewer swings than it will for Thunder.
Right. So we're back on Kraken 2 here. Again, a fight that can always be a little scary in terms of physical damage and, 1 shot on your life caster into 1 shot on your other life caster, but the protective magic being good in the seed, we've already got multiple casted in this 2 off, so probably going to be safe. Kuketsuki's having some trouble in the river. Kareebs have trance and are perpetually stunning that fighter.
You are the dancing fish.
Swishy swish.
Yeah, it looks like Sonny's going around trying to find that floater at this point with his canoe. Finally making it over to the waterfall cave.
That's right. So about to get that last critical piece of progression. That gates, at least it was the key, or it was the key and the loot were behind it. Loot is something that comes off Sarda, which you can get to with the ruby. Anyways, back to Temple of Fiends. Because we have a foot race here about a fiend apart, with Thundercloud exiting the water floor as Burt Reynolds enters it.
Yeah, and you're really seeing what that extra bit of leveling can do for a party. Not quite what happens when you have a black belt one-punching its way through things, but definitely showing what happens with some of these, fiend fights a little bit faster, some of these annoying packs a little bit faster. Unfortunately, that Black Mage going down for Burt Reynolds before the Lit 3 can come out, sorry.
Oof. Yeah, this is a big screen full of enemies. Not an encounter you see too much of, especially rolling so full like this. And it was unrunnable, so had to use the AoE to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, we have four-digit attacks coming out from the fighter on Tia 2, and thankfully one life caster is still alive, even though it was down on one knee, so Thundercloud has all 4 Light Warriors again to go into Chaos.
Yeah, assuming, is... Which, luckily, they don't.
So, Chaos attempt number 2 for Thundercloud. We'll see if he changes up his strategy, because something has to go differently than the last fight. Possibly some more preventative cures in advance of expected nukes and nuclears.
Yeah, and it might also come down to Chaos, for instance, throwing out a Quad X right away rather than punching, giving Thunder that little extra bit of time to set up.
Exactly. So we're seeing Lock, we're seeing Power Bonk, we're seeing Invis, so getting a lot of turns of buffing off as the inevitability of those skills and spells ticks ever forward.
Yeah, but Thunder also knows that Chaos isn't super tanky in terms of defense. In for 900, 2 or 3 more hits of that, and that Chaos is down.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chaos can roll in excess of like 4,500, I want to say, HP on this flag set, but if the defense isn't there, then it's not actually that much to chew through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see, look at this heal 3, right? This might not have been part of his strat the first time around, but now he knows what's coming.
Well, you want to call it?
Sure. So Thundercloud has finished with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 37 seconds. That is first on the restream, second overall in our race. First place went to Edgeworth, who finished prior at 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 8 seconds. GG's to both of them, especially to Thunder, who will be able to hopefully do an interview with on stream.
Indeed. And really, that shows what a difference can be made from good RNG versus bad RNG in one of these late Fiend fights.
Absolutely. You come in, you've got another chance, right? And because it is all chance, you've got another chance, and you know more. So even without more levels, Thundercloud still had a lot of outs.
Mm-hmm.
Kuketsuki is doing that north side key item sweep, just heading back from Waterfall now. Sonny Wrath is in the air, flying around and cleaning up the last few towns, and has still 2 orbs yet to light, same with Kuketsuki, while we've got a Tia 2 fight going, about as you would expect for Burt Reynolds. Black Mage is down, but not super essential there.
And we are now joined by Thundercloud. GG tonight!
Hey, thanks.
GG!
It was frustrating to get that high roll nuke to kill my knight on that. I'm pretty sure if I got one more swing, Chaos was dead, and that was kind of BS. Really irritated me, actually.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of how the Chaos fight goes some days.
Yeah, the critical mass there of the non-elemental spells is just, it's straight up unlucky, right? Usually they're better distributed amongst fiends, or they are deeper in the lists, or maybe more physical attacks come out instead of, quick spells, quick skills, and just Chaos was doing all the wrong things.
Yeah, if I had actually used a Cure 4 instead of trying to ration out my heals on my knight, it would have been fine, so I'm a little frustrated with that misplay too, because that definitely would let me survive the nuke.
Yeah, we were saying that your second go-around, absolutely you could get through it if you were doing preparatory cures in between rounds because you had the knowledge of what was coming.
Or you could get, the lucky Chaos that barely does anything dangerous on your second go-around.
Someone else could see that and say, what do you mean Chaos was hard?
Right. But yeah, it felt fine. Kind of stings to lose first place to that wipe, but it's okay. Second place is good too. Man, but the early game was not fun. The seed was too much sailing around for my taste.
Yeah, we sailed the high seas, and to interrupt just briefly, our second on-stream runner to finish, Burt Reynolds, GG, finished with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 41 seconds. Good job.
Yeah. GG.
So, let's see, what are some of the... This seed was a story just on its own, right? We've been going at it for over 2 hours on a pretty traditional flag set with a couple of quirks, but a lot of those quirks pushed the progression into deep places and made us, check a lot of difficult dungeons early, and then there were still multiple phases of progression gating in the seed. You were never just in the clear, and it was linear to your next thing. You had to go get your canoe, and then check suddenly, 3 different locations again.
Well, not only did you have to get your canoe, you had to get it by digging the crown out of sky and then doing a short little inner sea fetch quest.
Yeah, and then you had to buy the chime in Elfland for a pretty pricey amount of money to get into that sky, which was interesting. I almost wanted to do Krakenside before going to Sky and buying the chime and all that, but I did not have the firepower to be able to kill Kraken, so I decided to try Sky, and thankfully it paid off.
Good call, and you would have only been rewarded with a Bane sword on left side.
Yeah, which I think I picked up anyways on my way through.
Right on. We were talking over the possibilities early, and again, you did have those Fiend dungeons you just mentioned, but Earth and Marsh weren't pushovers. There was some really bad spells and skills coming out.
Yeah, it kind of felt bad to do some early dives like Marsh and not get rewarded. I don't think I dug anything decent out, and then I full cleared Earth hoping to find a loose or something, and then also I don't think I dug out very much at all there.
Yeah, you had the ribbon on floor 2 when I was about it.
Yeah, that's right. And that ribbon actually ended up paying off huge because that allowed my white mage to solo the last half of Earth.
Which was super impressive, the white mage strats. You got out of a pretty clutch encounter. I want to say there were the 2 giants that were hitting the white mage when they were trying to run.
Yeah, that was the scariest one. If they would have got another turn of punching me, I would have probably died. But it was super annoying to see the undead pack have a fire whenever the only sweeper I had was a mage.
But, I mean, the mage staff is sort of the savior in that early seed, because it's effective against a lot of the packs that aren't in C in the beginning, and, Quake, which is... There's like Quake, nothing for level 2 because it's locked away, and then levels 3 and 4. Like, you have lit 3 at level 4, but you have to get experience first. So Mage Staff thankfully lets you kill some things to get that experience.
And that was my thought of what kind of pushed me to do a Marsh Cave clear, looking for a loose, is because I didn't really have anywhere else that I could actually kill things and get some EXP along the way, so I was hoping to get maybe level 4 charges by the time I got on Marsh, but I don't even think that happened, so I just ended up doing Earth Cave.
Yeah, we had, and by the way, welcome to Burt Reynolds, who just came into the channel. What are your thoughts on how that all progressed for you?
Oh, that was a mess. That was a mess for sure. I spent most of that race not knowing what I was doing.
For a half
not knowing what
second,
you were doing, 3rd place. So
for a half second, I thought it was going to be a floaterless. I ended up doing all 4 orbs, and then I realized, well, no, there's a lot of incentives, and I need a key, or a lot of incentives behind a floater, and I need a key and a loot. Yeah.
Yeah. So the chat wants to know. I almost gave up on when my fighter and red mage went down, but I decided that there's got to be a 1% chance that a single quake works, and well, I guess it worked out.
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you quake?
I quaked Warmech. After my fighter and red mage went down.
Unrunnable Warmech.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
It was glorious.
So I went down with a single quake.
Nice job.
So Burt definitely had some highlights in his seed. which helps explain a great finish time with third place. There was that Warmech Quake, and also you were the first one to check Matoya and get the canal, so you were off checking towns and dungeon stuff behind the ship before anyone else.
Yeah, I always make sure to route in Matoya very early, especially with the town shuffle on.
Yep.
If the towns are shuffled and you're not guaranteed a Provoca, I'm going to start checking chests as soon as I can.
Yeah, and this the flag set, for those who might have a few more runs on it, this flag set has some math early that favors doing dwarves just for 2, doing Matoya just for 3, because you're so likely to find that canal, or at least rule in that it has to be in Marsh before, say, doing Marsh.
But I heard you also went to Marsh Thunder?
Yeah, I did get the canal out of Matoya first, and I sailed around the world looking for Provoca or Crescent Lake or some hope of getting out of doing Marsh, but I ended up doing the whole world check and then going back to do Marsh, and then I did Earth Cave, and then I bought the Chime and did Sky.
Yeah, I basically did the exact same thing.
I did sneak in early to Mermaids when I found it kind of early, but I didn't get anything out of there except for a gold bracelet and a silver bracelet, which kind of helped my early game survive.
I tried doing an early Mermaids dive, but I ran into too many unrunnable packs. So when I came back to it later, it was about an hour and a half in, and I realized that if anyone had gone down there and got the floater, then they would have already finished, so I know I can just skip C entirely.
Yeah.
So, quick note on that item you picked up in the Mermaids, you picked up a gold bracelet. Since this just happened to me in a recent seed, did you look at the sell price on that gold bracelet? I didn't see it personally this seed, but was it, a multi-$10,000 sale potentially?
I don't remember looking or seeing it in a shop.
Yeah, just because that's one way. If you don't find much other gear early and you've got that big shop key item, one strat is just give up the good gear and see if you can make progress.
Yep. I knew when I checked Marsh I was going to get money for that Chime, so I wasn't too worried about selling for it yet. Plus I was planning on doing a full clear of Earth Cave because I knew I was looking for a loose at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To do a quick chime in on our on-stream runners, Sonny Wrath is finally getting revenge on that Kraken, and Q Katsuki is off to the races, flying around in the airship.
Yep. 2 orbs remaining for Q, with many key item checks and so forth left to do, but they should be equipped with the floater, while Sonny Wrath just lit the 4th orb, killing Kraken, so should be into tow for momentarily.
Indeed.
Can we talk about how many Cobra encounters were on Earth 1 and why they had cremate? Like, that was ridiculous. I tried to check, I ended up checking all 3 rooms, but it took me like 15 resets to get through all of it.
Yeah, and on top of that, as Lady and I were finding, the Cobras are only on the 1st floor, so like usually you don't see too many Cobras, but when you've got to full clear them and you keep wiping, it's a different story.
Yeah, that's something I knew, and that's why I wasn't too scared to dive deeper into Earth until I saw Zap on the werewolves, and I was like, oh god, this is over. But somehow I made it through.
Did you do any grinding on the Saria tile?
I just did the checks for the gear, and kind of took them as I came across them.
I think I went up to level 20 on the Sarias. After seeing the cremate snakes and the Zap wolves, I decided that I wanted a little more MDef.
Yeah, which is ironic given that the ribbon was 1 floor away.
I almost thought about that, like, this seed was, if you were going to do a black belt, this seed was built for a good black belt, because if you did the early rod check, you were going to find those Sarias, which you're pretty much likely to do, and then
you
grinded early and gotten that 32 or 42.
You don't have your key item bump at that point, so you're relying on just the 2.7x scaling and like nothing else. So it would have taken a while, so it could have paid off.
Yeah, no one on stream wound up taking a black belt, so we can't quite see how that would pan out.
In my experience with this kind of EXP scaling and key items, if you come across the tile pretty fast, and you know it's going to be kind of a while for the seed to be finished, at least 45-50 minutes an hour, even without the key item bonus, it's worth grinding that black belt up to 32 or higher. you're going to get that paid off in dividends with the enemies running and you striking first and all the instant kill fiends and instant kill everything else you got to do.
Thank you for sharing that strategy with us. No doubt we've got some people in the chat who have much to learn and are hungry to learn it about Final Fantasy Randomizer. By the way, our Discord is full of help for new players, so if anyone would like to join, I'm about to link it again. And back to the play-by-play, Sonirath has dispatched of the Speed Bump Fiend and is on to Carry 2, who we know, of course, to be a low roll, but Carry 2 can sometimes present a major threat.
This Carry had a lot of HP.
Oh, was this... Oh, maybe it was the Carry 1. Sorry, Leggy and I were discussing a low roll Carry, but Carry 1 was the one that rolled under.
Yeah, and given the fact that a lot the stratification of where all of our runners were is some of those speed fights start to blend together a little bit. Because it's not like you were all going through at the same point at the same.
No,
Thunder.
I could definitely see divergence being huge in this race.
Yeah, you had Kyukatsuki and Sonirath beating their head against C early. Neither of them managed to light the orb or find anything really worthwhile down there.
Yeah, when I checked mermaids, I ran back in to maybe check Kraken's side, and I was just gonna... I don't know what I was gonna do. If I saw something important in there, I was gonna cry probably, and then try to get it out eventually. But when I came across the unrunnables in my first encounter, I was like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna go do other things. I'll come back here if I absolutely have to. And thankfully, that didn't end up biting me.
Kyukatsuki, just a few more key item turns to do. Did just get the ruby from the Lufa-Lufas, so that's going to unlock the key in Titan's Trove. And then it's just orbs and go. While Sonirath, going through the water floor, coming around Kraken. Again, we didn't see much threat from Kraken for other runners, but that could have just been due to having so much evasive magic.
This Kraken had a lot of evasion, I remember. And
That's true.
actually had pretty high HP also. Hit kinda decent, but yeah, with a few invises you should survive.
Yeah. Essentially what happened is, like, some of the fiends before Chaos were hard to kill, but they weren't liable to kill you, right? It wasn't until Chaos that it was like, oh shoot, what's going on?
Right, I agree with that. Tiamat 2 did pack a punch a little bit too, but I would say it's about the same as Kraken. Get a couple invises up and you shouldn't be too scared.
So Kyuketsuki's picked Volcano first, is rushing down to carry. This is a really quick go mode dungeon because there's so many lava tiles that don't advance the encounter tables, so you can get from the top to the bottom in about a minute if you don't have to check anything. Sonirath didn't hit Kraken too much there, but has Lock 2 in the Black Mage spell inventory, so gonna start landing those hits pretty soon.
Kraken firing back with Lit 2, which all scary spell in the Fiend pool.
Yes, and it looks like Sonny's gone with spread out the damage plan by having the Maza on the Red Mage, and what looks to be a promoted party, so the Excalibur on the Knight. Definitely viable in some fight approaches, depending on if you want to funnel all of your buffs into one character or not. But will that Maza move over for Tiamat, or are we going to see more of the split damage strats? Because Tiamat is around where the Excalibur kind of just stops being a super relevant late game weapon, unfortunately. Ouch.
Oh, wow,
and
yeah.
yeah, we actually had a carry 1 wipe just now for Kiketsuki. Alright, so Fast goes off on the Red Mage, who then immediately takes a crack of 217 from Tiamat, so needs to cure it up, otherwise threatens to lose that damage potential.
Yeah, I really would have liked to seen Katsuki cast a Quake on carry there. We know it's possible.
Yeah, it's, I want to say 6% chance or something like that, 6 to 10-ish.
I think you
Let
should
me double
start.
check.
I think you should start revolving a lot of your strategies around Quake now.
I mean, we have had some people in the community sing the praises of Quake before.
Yes, yes, you can join their cult.
You can join the school of Deng Strats.
The cult of cake.
And let's not forget Split Punched.
Yo, Sonirath is going for the full victory lap, not even the partial victory
This
lap.
isn't even symmetric. This is.
This is a victory
Yes.
figure 8 inverted, like, Mobius strip.
I hope Chaos wipes him for this. I mean, if you're gonna do a victory lap, do it clean, please.
He's got a nuke in his pool somewhere.
Gosh.
It's the skill list is Inferno Nuclear, Thunder Nuclear, and pretty quick to go through it. And spells, I want to say Nuke comes around at like 3 or 4. And best of luck to you, Sonny. Did put the Mazamune on the fighter, so at least has the damage all on the highest HP character.
Of course, Chaos immediately goes for the punch of the White Mage.
Who is non-trivially relevant in this fight because Cure 4, Heal 3, both pretty clutch when you just need to keep your HP pools up to make it through the fight.
Here's the Inferno.
That was I think, resisted across the board. It looked like that Inferno did not go very high.
Yeah, it looks like 80 damage up and down the line.
Ooh, I think Nuclear and Nuke are gonna line up next to each other here, real quick.
Yeah, the way things are going, it's looking likely. Sonny throwing out the heal. Good call.
Okay, Chaos goes for a physical attack on the black belt, so basically free turn.
Yeah, with the
Oh, sorry,
amount,
black mage.
yeah, with the amount of evasion up, those physical attacks are basically freebies.
Oh, if he gets one more attack in, he should get it, I think.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
it. That was a big hit.
Swinging for 1.5k is going to leave a mark.
Oh god, please don't turn order Nuke!
Okay, nuclear first before nuke, which is, I guess, fine because it killed fewer characters than a nuke might have.
Oh my god.
Okay.
GG, thank you.
There we go.
Whew.
With an official SRL time of 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 57 seconds.
Sonny Wrath is our third on-stream and fourth off-stream, and will be shortly joining for an interview, hopefully, while our last remaining runner on stream, Kuketsuki, is going to finish up Sea Shrine here, do Kraken, and should be in Topher in a matter of minutes, I would assume.
Yeah.
Wisely skipping all the remaining chests, there's nothing to get here. Looks like the thief remains down for Kuketsuki, so trying to funnel in those last bits of experience onto the most valuable characters in the party. Promoted though, so that, Ninja has a lot of relevance, much more so than the thief post promotion, but not concerned about getting experience there right now. And we've got Sonirath here in the voice chat with us, so GG.
Oh! That's my victory yell.
So tell me how you really feel.
Oh! No, this was fun. Little frustrating, but that's only because I lost location so many things. But otherwise, it wasn't that bad.
Right. If with the hindsight, of course, we can see that there was a relatively straightforward path through the seed if you just happen to buy the key item and go to Sky, and then everything kind of falls in place for you. But nobody has that foresight, so runners were all over the place.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine what the divergence was after getting the canal and then the canoe. This seed was definitely a thing. I thought about actually getting the chime earlier on, but I looked at it and I was like, no, there's no way I'm going to dive and actually try to complete Sky early on. I didn't have great spells, I didn't have great levels, and even though the spells kind of rolled crappily, I don't even know where Nuke or Fade were. I imagine level 7 or 8, because those are the only spell shops I didn't check.
Yeah, we didn't see those the whole game. Nobody... I mean, some people promoted, but I don't see those spells, so...
Yeah. It wasn't that bad, but I am still very against Town Shuffle being used in a tournament unless it's like the co-op tournament that was done a while back, because...
The spring tournament a year ago was Town Shuffle.
I think it was Town Shuffle later on. But, like, starting off Town Shuffle... Like, if we ended up using these flags throughout the entire tournament, no. If we used these after we got into the brackets, then yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so the flag set design, which the author, Asher, in chat, and again, Tracker, shout out, he's been experimenting with some of the data without Town Shuffle and stuff, and some of the routing that ends up being either possible or mandatory, and it just seems to play out more interestingly with Town Shuffle on, even if that does up the difficulty by a little bit.
Depending on spell set, it actually ups it by a ton. But that's beside the point.
In this seed, there wasn't even any good spells in Provoca to get if we had access to Provoca early.
No, there weren't. I mean, there was Ruse, which was nice, and there was Lock 2, which was also nice. But overall, the spells were pretty garbage. I mean, early Quake, yeah, that's nice. You can instant kill early enemies and some of the later enemies. And even Lich, but Lich being susceptible to Earth. We'll go over that another day. Overall, our spells just sucked.
Yeah, you had to have a Black Mage and get it to 8 before you could start really clearing things.
Unless you got the Mage Staff in Temple of Fiends early in the upper left side.
Right, which a lot of the runners did, or I think maybe even all of them, but of note, the Sea Shrine was one of the earliest possible plays, and Sea Shrine doesn't have much that you can get through with just Quake and Mage Staff.
Nope, but it did have a Bane Sword.
Yep.
And
I was also on the right side, and actually not all that much else.
Yeah. Like, I was scared that I'd have to go into TFC for something, and yeah, that wasn't the case, and I'm quite happy about that.
We did miss the time on Kiketsuki's Topher entry, but hasn't yet reached the first Fiendry fight, is progressing through the previous floors. Noteworthy that the shuffled Imp Grimp tile actually did a ton of damage poison, so a couple of the party members for Kiketsuki are down, but crucially the Red Mage with life is still up.
Shoutouts to damage poison.
Yeah, we've seen some kind of funny things just happen with which enemies landed which spells and skills, where the shuffled encounter tiles ended up being we kind of laughed, Leggy and I did. And, you go into something where the Phantom normally sits, and you see Imps and Grimps. Ha 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 ha! They have damage poison. Oh ha ha!
Or we could have had one better: werewolves with zap at that tile.
Yeah.
Because ribbon breaks are a thing.
Yep.
Which, for once, I didn't have a ribbon break. Knock on wood. But yeah, early Kraken attempt, bad idea. Mid-game Tia attempt, I played that way too late. So I knew I was going to come close to the end of the pack just because of that. Especially seeing the crown there. But yeah, I mean, 2+ hours. This seed was a masterpiece, and I loved it.
Yeah, honestly, memorable one to cast. I've really enjoyed watching it so far, and the runners certainly got let's just say they got a well-rounded impression of the flag set. I won't say it was necessarily good, because people like different things out of their FFR seeds, but as far as time, this was designed to target about the hour and a half to 145. That's, pretty good for competitive play, and this one ran pretty long.
Yeah, this one was definitely an outlier. I've done a few of the Town Shuffle seeds, and this was most definitely an outlier. Though I will reiterate, personally, I don't like Town Shuffle, but it does have its moments where it is very fun. And this, even though it was a bit of a slog, was one of those moments that it was very, very fun. And I will say, Asher, I'm glad you've run the data on these seeds. This one being an outlier, being very, very sporadic on the routing, was definitely a lot of fun.
Yep, and shoutouts in multiple ways to our restreamer, MathGirl718 in chat, has been doing the hard work to bring this broadcast to you, but also is responsible for rolling such an interesting quote-unquote seed.
Now I'm going to rewind for a moment, because you may have noticed something. After I ran across the werewolves of Zap, I power cycled back into them multiple times.
Oh.
Harry has Tier 4 with high HP. That's
Gross.
Yeah. Thank God for all these other things we have available, and that carry does not seem to be doing too much damage to the main characters.
Yeah. Well, at least we know that Tier 4 has been a lot worse.
Yep.
Did either of you see the bones with Nuke?
Oh god, no.
I never knew.
Bones.
Their second spell on the list was Nuke.
Oh my
The
God.
first one was Heal 3.
Yep.
I don't think I encountered bones the whole seed. If I did, I one-shot them before they did anything.
You only see them in Toph and Marsh, and with Marsh not being, required even, it's pretty easy to avoid the bones.
Well,
I remember
required in
seeing tons of
quotes.
scum in Marsh, though.
Oh, there was a lot of scum in Marsh. That place had been growing some stuff.
So Kikutsuki did get through that carry despite the Cure 4, is on the 3rd floor of Temple of Fiends Revisited. Seems to be deliberately running with the Black Mage and Thief down for now. That makes sense if you're worried about them just dying again to an AoE or something and having to waste your life charges. Speaking of life charges, how many do we have to work with? We have... Are you going to use all of them? Okay, because so there were 4. Kikutsu just used one of the 4 to resurrect the Black Mage and neglected to bring back up the Ninja, so one less person to potentially take a hit for the critical characters, and immediately the Black Mage is down.
Rip.
Going with a Ruse cast here, I don't know if the defense which was on the robot, I don't know if the defense is in the inventory there for Hex. Fire 2, no trouble at all. But 2 hits, 18 damage, not going to get there, so we're going to need to see some power bonk, and I did not see a defense sword on that weapon list.
Yeah, depending on your order, you never had to make it into the waterfall cave, so it's entirely possible he just skipped it, or just checked the chests.
Right. This knight doesn't have any kind of life 2, right? Because it was level 4, and you don't get charges for that on the knight, so it's going to be one light warrior strats the rest of the way.
I think it's a little possible if Chaos doesn't decide to go right into his skill and spell list too fast.
Yeah. Or if the knight just gets those, thanks to the MDF, gets those more minimum rolls on the nuclear and nuke.
Yeah, he'll probably get hit for 390 like I did.
Yeah.
Ooh, right into a swing. Bold.
Yeah, and has ruse charges, but probably at this point is thinking I need to max out my evade on Chaos, or potentially so.
Oh my, this Tia is playing so nice with him right now.
Yeah, doing enough damage per hit to not really need to take time to
God,
powerbomb.
let's start swinging down Tia.
Tia was not that bad.
Tia can hit real hard. She hit me for about 500.
The highest I saw her hit for was 200.
Alright, I'd love to see a full inventory screen sweep here from Kuketsuki just to see what kind of tools we've got in the toolbox. Maybe the defense was on the ninja or something and just not moved over.
Oh, he doesn't even have a ruse charge anymore.
Oh, no ruse charges. Let's look at weapons. I didn't see a defense. Armor. Is there a white shirt? No. So it's going to be Opal, Powerbonk, Ribbon. Okay, here we go. One more heal pot, 549, not a great HP pool. This is a level 24 fighter, so good on the offensive front, but not great on the survivability front. And immediately into Inferno means nuclear is around the corner. Opting not to spend any turns power bonking, which, there are trade-offs. But getting some decent damage chunks in. So if Chaos plays nice, Zap is a spell, so that advances the list towards Nuke. But the HP is getting really...
And with that, Kuketsuki decides that it's not worth it to keep going, and I don't blame him nearly 3 hours in.
So that concludes the runs of all on-stream runners, as well as the race overall. Kuketsuki was the last to be playing, so status complete. We are checking if Kuketsuki wants the interview. And
I think he can answer himself.
Hey.
Oh, hey, welcome.
That's a seed that I enjoy, straight up, but that was unfortunate. Without it going into X.
Yeah, lots of things went south. It's one of those seeds where a lot can go against you, both from a luck perspective and from a routing perspective.
That was a fairly linear seed too. It just was very much forced. You have to go through drinking this swill to drinking this swill to drinking this.
So what would you say, since you said you liked the seed overall, just kind of not how it ended, what were maybe some things you liked about the flags or how this one played out?
Oh, everything wanted to kill you. Straight. Like, you wanted to try and use the run button. Run button doesn't work. It's just like overmelding in Final Fantasy XIV. It may say 10%, it works 1% of the time.
So when you say like everything wanted to kill you, does that make you feel like, okay, well, this run's hard for me, but it's hard for everyone, so we're all gonna grit our teeth and get through it? Or do you just do you like it when the enemies are scarier because it's more of a thrill or a challenge?
No, it means I actually have a chance to win against other people because they quit. Because they don't want to deal with the
Yeah, so overall, what were your thoughts on the flags and kind of just like the structure of the progression of the seed?
I mean, the flags didn't have anything scary. Like, you can get Town Shuffle, these particular flag sets, and this is what we ran in the spring tournament, stuff like this. These are the flags that you can get. They are the upper echelon of just so much of you're not going to pass. You have to go through this area. You have to get these. That is exactly what happens. And sometimes it really comes down to who can luck their way through it faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And your approach of it's hard, so maybe someone else FFs. That's sometimes I've taken that when I have a Topher wipe. I just go back, I get a bunch of levels or something. I say like, all right, well maybe everyone else wipes too, right? And I'm just going to be the safe one.
Nah, there's no safe on this one. Like, ribbons were deep. You had to go get the crown through Sky Palace, which means you had to grind up enough gold to get the chime. It was a very linear seed. It just, it is what it is. And when I got to that last Topher wipe, I'm like, well, he just wiped off my red mage. My red mage was my only hope. I didn't really have the levels because I didn't really want to stop Saria grinded. Like, this is definitely a black belt seed that I could see right off the bat. But, I didn't want to stop an hour in to switch to a black belt.
Yeah, you're not the only interviewer to say that. Was it Thunder? Were you saying earlier you saw black belt as a potential this seed?
Yeah, I thought that if you took a black belt and you decided to check Earth and get that Saria tile found within the first 15-20 minutes, then grind it up, you would have blown past a lot of people in the seed just by how much you had to grin your teeth and bear through and the long fights because of the bad gear and the bad levels and all that.
I mean,
bad magic.
The problem with it is you still had to get the Canala mermaids, so you still had to dig mermaids to get that.
The canal was in Matoyos.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's what I
canal-
meant, sorry.
Yeah, and on a note with the gear, if you did the waterfall check first off, which is not essential, but also in the same room as Power Bomb, which was on a loose that you find on your way to Maza. You get Power Bomb, you get Black Shirt. Maza's right next to the crown that you had to get. There was a lot of good gear, some of it promotion gated, but it wouldn't ultimately help you if you didn't have, say, the HP or whatever to also beat back some of those chaos spells.
Yeah, you got the good gear, it just came very late into the progression of the seed, where it wasn't as important anymore.
Like, completely honest on this one, this is probably how I'd do this for the next time, and I thought about this about 30 minutes in. You got the Mage Staff. You could have just Mage Staff 2-man grinded on Pop until your black belt was about 23, and then you could probably clear the seed pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, Pop was a legit grind potential in the seed, which is not something you see often in the randomizer because it has to be a circumstance of what can you kill, how limited is it, where can you access. But yeah, this time around it was a good choice.
The trolls are pretty chunky. It might have been a rough go with the mage staff on the trolls. I ended up killing a few, and I think they had over like 350 HP.
Yeah, they
but
had about 350.
I would just gone Frost Wolves on 1, because Frost were on 1, and you can kill them with a Mage Staff or 2. So.
Oh yeah, that would have been nice.
Oh, yeah, that definitely would have done it.
Yeah, as far as grinds, I mean, there's the Saria tile. And of course, Sarias are more than sufficient. There wasn't much else I saw that would sort of get you the levels when it mattered.
No, because the problem is basically you went through Sky so early, so you couldn't really take the fights in Sky because you needed the resources to get through it. And it was one of those where do you go back? Because at this point I was still level starved, so, and I didn't really want to grind for 30 minutes to make everyone win.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we've got some messages in the chat, which will show you that you can follow our runners on Twitch. You can also follow our staff. We've got a whole crew here that has to come together to bring you these broadcasts. And so thank you to our restreamer, Math Girl. Thank you to Danny and Asher, our trackers. And I've been doing comms here as Cheesenator with Leggy Starscream. So it's been a wonderful night with you all. Make sure to follow our runners.
Yeah, these runners really put a lot of effort into what turned out to be a really rough seed, and if you want to see more of this incredible skill, you should definitely follow each and every one of them.
Yep, and please join the Final Fantasy Randomizer Discord if you haven't yet, or bring your friends. Everyone's welcome in. We're doing events like these weekly races to prepare for the spring tournament that's rolling around in a few months. That's going to be a big, exciting time. So we're looking forward to having you.
We'll also help you learn the game.
Sure.
That too.
It's not that bad. It really isn't that bad. And again, if you guys are a person of pain, like these kind of things are actually good for you. They teach you to just grit your teeth and get through it and try and think about the season there. And to be honest, there's a lot of great new player help in the Duckling section. We can get your feet wet in that area. So.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we all go to bed?
I'd just like to say thanks to you guys for putting it on. Streaming on Math Girl. Thank you for that. Thank you for the really quote-unquote fun seed. And thank you, Commentary Leggy and Seasonator. It's always a good conversation, so I can't wait to go back and listen to the VOD, see what your guys' thoughts were about the race. And thank you, everybody, for coming in and watching us.
Compared to losing a run of Final Fantasy 14, 16 hours in, this wasn't that bad, Math Girl. Continue to give these seeds. It's important that people learn that you can't just ruffle your way through everything.
Yeah, I have to echo that sentiment. There are so many times that you just have to bare your teeth, bite down, grit through the seed, and make it through, because there is a light at the end of what may seem like a completely dark tunnel. It's not going to be easy, but as you have seen, it's most definitely possible.
All right. Well, sorry, Bert, did you get a chance to say a final thought?
Oh, sure. I'll just say that I learned an important lesson tonight, and that is that even if you have a 1% chance of victory, I'd say a 3 in 256 chance of victory, don't reset. Don't reset. There's still a chance for you.
Please tell me you didn't pay in Chaos.
Oh, I quaked a Warmech.
You quaked a Warmech?
Yeah, well, first try.
Yo!
Bert. Instant
Yo!
they don't work. You
My fighter mage had died, so I threw off one quake and it worked.
Shoutouts to Bert for quaking a mech.
Definitely a skill play, I'd say.
Told him he's revolved the rest of his strategies on all of his races around quaking everything now.
Yeah.
That's the
Anyway.
thing. Even a 1% chance is a chance to win.
At this point, I want to thank the Randomania family of networks for hosting us tonight. I want to thank all of our runners and crew for coming out tonight, and wish every single one of you and our viewers a good night.
Thank you, Leggy, for the sign out. I'm Cheesenator signing out as well. See you at the next race.
Indeed.